Welcome again to your Chapter 6 video lecture series. In this video, we're going to cover Section 6.3 on repair and regeneration of our integumentary system. So here are our learning objectives, nice and short and sweet. And we're going to start by discussing tissue being repaired in one of two ways. We've got regeneration of fibrosis here. When we have the regeneration portion take place, this means that we are replacing any damaged or dead cells with the same cell type. This is going to help to restore organ function. Whereas with fibrosis, we're going to have that gap fill with scar tissue, and collagen is going to be produced by our fibroblasts, and this is why this is taking place in the dermis, where we have connective tissue and those fibroblasts exist, as well as the collagen bundles here. And we're going to get functional activities that are not restored here because of that scar tissue. Now here are our stages of wound healing. When we are cut and have a wound, those blood vessels are going to be damaged and bleed into the wound. The blood is then going to clot and form leukocytes in the clean wound, and the clot will be a temporary barrier for pathogens, so they can't go further in and invade the tissue here. Then we're going to have the blood vessels regrow and granulation tissue is going to form, and vascular connective tissue is initially going to form within the wound. And lastly, we are going to have that epithelium regenerate and the connective tissue fibrosis take place. Now let's take a look at a clinical view here on cirrhosis. This is a chronic autoimmune skin disease where our keratinocytes are attacked by T lymphocytes within our adaptive immune system. This will cause a rapid overgrowth of new skin cells, which you can see taking place over here, and where we're going to get patches of whitish and scaly skin on the epidermal surface. Symptoms would include severe itching, pain, and skin cracking. And treatments would include corticosteroids, UV light therapy, medications that interfere with skin cell production. And there are some other symptoms that we're going to see based on the type of cirrhosis that is affecting the individual. Our other clinical view is going to be on burns. This is a major cause of accidental death and can be caused by heat, radiation, chemicals, sunlight, or even electrical shock. It's a threat to life because we have a loss of fluid, infections that can take place, and the effects of the burn tissue. So we have 3 degrees of burns that we're going to talk about in our class. There is technically a 4th degree burn that is down to the bone and muscle, but we won't be really discussing that here. So 1st degree burn is what you see pictured over here and over here. This is only involving the epidermis, and we see a slight redness to the skin, and it can be painful to the touch. You can immerse the burn area in cool water. And the 2nd degree burns are pictured here and here. This is involving it's involving all of the epidermis and part of the dermis. Our skin may blister and be painful, and there might even be slight scarring. There are also 3rd degree burns in which we are going to burn through the complete skin, so we're going through the epidermis and the dermis, and we are reaching the subcutaneous layer. So this is going to require hospitalization, and I put this photo here just so you can compare a 2nd degree burn in which we've gone through part of the dermis versus this photo where we see a 3rd degree burn. We've gone through the epidermis, dermis, and subcutaneous layer. Treatment is for dehydration and any infections that are taking place, and it might require additional caloric intake. We also will have severe scarring, so it might need a debridement, which means we are going to kind of clear off the skin, and a skin graft. And we can measure the burn severity of an individual based on the rule of nines. This is an estimate of the surface area of burns. So basically in different regions of the body, we have divided them up to 9%. So the entire head and neck, anterior and posterior together, is 9%. The anterior chest is 9%. Anterior abdomen is 9%, and then you could see that the back portions of these regions are also 9% individually. Now your upper limb, both anterior and posterior together, is 9%. So let's say all of your right arm, anterior and posterior, is 9%. All of your left upper extremity is 9% as well. With your lower limbs, because you have a larger surface area of skin, the anterior right lower limb is going to be 9%, and the posterior lower limb is going to be 9%. So if you were to, let's say, burn the skin on the entire right lower limb here, that would be 18% of the skin is burned. And the groin region is just going to be 1%. For treatment of burns, we can manage the fluid loss, relieve the swelling, manage the pain, remove dead tissue, control infection, and increase caloric intake.